Chosen ones, what you did this Saturday morning proved you are a child of God. It was an ordinary Saturday morning in the quiet suburb of Willow Creek. The sun had just crept over the horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold. Most people were still asleep, dreaming of weekend plans, coffee runs, errands, or lazy hours scrolling on their phones. But not Sarah. Sarah Thompson was 28, a single mother of two young boys, working double shifts as a nurse at the local hospital just to keep the lights on. Her life had been a series of quiet battles, a divorce that left her shattered, bills that piled up like autumn leaves, and nights where she whispered prayers into the darkness, wondering if anyone was listening. That Saturday, she woke up earlier than usual. The alarm clock read 5:47 a.m. Her boys, Ethan and Noah, were still fast asleep in the room next door, their small chests rising and falling peacefully. Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, rubbing her eyes. She had planned to sleep in, to steal a few extra hours of rest after a grueling week, but something stirred in her heart, a gentle nudge, like a whisper she couldn't ignore. She remembered the elderly neighbor, Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, who lived alone in the small house next door. Mrs. Hayes was 83, widowed for decades, and recently diagnosed with early dementia. Sarah had promised to check on her more often, but life always got in the way. Yesterday, during a quick wave over the fence, Mrs. Hayes had mentioned her fridge was nearly empty and that she hadn't been able to make it to the grocery store because of the rain. Sarah glanced at her own kitchen through the open bedroom door. Her pantry wasn't overflowing, far from it. There were a few eggs, some bread nearing its expiration, a jar of peanut butter, and half a carton of milk. The boys needed breakfast, and she had exactly $20 in her wallet until payday next week. But that nudge in her heart grew stronger. She slipped out of bed, pulled on an old sweater, and tiptoed to the kitchen. Quietly, she cracked the last 4 eggs into a bowl, whisked them with a splash of milk, and scrambled them in a pan. She toasted the remaining slices of bread, spread peanut butter generously on 2 for the boys, and saved the rest plain. Then she packed the scrambled eggs into a small Tupperware container, wrapped the toasted bread in foil, and added a banana from the counter, the last one. Before leaving, Sarah scribbled a note for her sons. "Mommy's next door helping Mrs. Hayes. Cereal is in the cabinet. Be good and wake up gently. Love you forever." She stepped out into the crisp morning air, the dew still clinging to the grass. The walk to Mrs. Hayes' door was only 20 steps, but it felt like a journey. Sarah knocked softly. After a long moment, the door creaked open. Mrs. Hayes stood there in her robe, her silver hair tousled, eyes confused but warming with recognition. "Sarah, dear, it's so early." "I know, Mrs. Hayes," Sarah said with a gentle smile, "but I made you some breakfast. Eggs and toast, and I thought maybe I could run to the store for you later if you need anything." Mrs. Hayes' eyes filled with tears as she took the warm container. "Child, you didn't have to. I was just going to have tea and crackers again." Sarah helped her inside, setting the food on the table. As Mrs. Hayes ate slowly, savoring each bite like it was a feast, Sarah noticed the house. Dishes piled in the sink, laundry overflowing, and a stack of unpaid bills on the counter. Without a word, Sarah rolled up her sleeves. For the next 2 hours, while the world slowly woke up, Sarah transformed the space. She washed the dishes, folded the laundry, swept the floors, and even organized the bills, making a list of what was urgent. She brewed fresh coffee for Mrs. Hayes and sat with her, listening to stories of her late husband, her children who lived far away and rarely called, and the loneliness that crept in like fog. By 9 a.m., the house felt alive again. Mrs. Hayes, now dressed and smiling, hugged Sarah tightly. "You're an angel, Sarah. God sent you this morning." Sarah shook her head. "No, ma'am. He just reminded me." When Sarah returned home, her boys were up, munching on cereal with wide eyes. "Mom, where'd you go?" Athena asked. "To help a friend," she replied, pulling them into a hug. Later that afternoon, something unexpected happened. A knock at Sarah's door. It was Mrs. Hayes' son, Mark, who had driven in from out of town after his mother called him in tears, not of sadness, but gratitude. He hadn't visited in months, burdened by his own busy life. Seeing the house tidy and his mother glowing, he stayed for hours, promising to come more often. And then, as he left, he pressed an envelope into Sarah's hand. "For the groceries you mentioned buying for Mom, and for whatever you need." Inside was $200, 10 times what Sarah had in her wallet. That evening, as Sarah tucked her boys into bed, she reflected on the day. She hadn't planned any of it. She had sacrificed her sleep, her last eggs, her quiet morning. But in giving what little she had, she received abundance. Not just money, but connection, joy, and a renewed faith. Chosen ones, what you did this Saturday morning proved you are a child of God. It wasn't the grand gestures that marked Sarah as his. It wasn't preaching from a pulpit or donating millions. It was the quiet obedience to that inner whisper, the choice to rise early and give when it cost something, the decision to love a neighbor as herself even when her own cup felt empty. In a world that celebrates the loud, the flashy, the self-promoting, God looks for the humble hearts that move in secret, the ones who feed the hungry with their last meal, who visit the lonely at dawn, who serve without expecting applause. Sarah didn't feel like a chosen one that morning. She felt tired, stretched thin, ordinary. But that's exactly how God works, through the ordinary to reveal the extraordinary. Through weakness, He shows strength. Through sacrifice, He multiplies blessings. So, chosen one, if you woke up today and felt that nudge to call a friend who's hurting, to forgive someone who's wronged you, to give when it hurts, to pray when you'd rather sleep, listen, obey. Because what you do in these quiet Saturday mornings when no one is watching proves whose child you truly are. You are loved beyond measure. You are chosen not because of your perfection, but because of your willingness to say yes to Him in the small things. And when you do, miracles unfold. Not always with envelopes of money or dramatic turns, but with peace that surpasses understanding, with hearts transformed, with a world made a little brighter, one act of love at a time. So, chosen one, keep going. The Father sees, He smiles, and He calls you His own.
The sun had barely cleared the rooftops of Willow Creek when Sarah Thompson's eyes fluttered open. It was Saturday, January 4th, 2026, exactly 6:03 a.m. according to the dim red numbers on her bedside clock. Outside, a thin layer of frost silvered the grass, and the world was wrapped in that rare, sacred hush that only early winter mornings possess. Most of the neighborhood was still lost in sleep, dreaming of warm beds and unhurried glance. But Sarah was wide awake, and something deep inside her chest was stirring. She lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling crack that had been there since she moved in 5 years ago. Her mind ran through the familiar inventory of worries: the electric bill due next week, Ethan's school field trip money she still hadn't scraped together, Noah's cough that lingered a little too long, the 12-hour shift she'd worked yesterday that left her body aching. Sleep should have claimed her easily. She had earned it. Yet rest slipped further away with every breath. Then she felt it again, that gentle, persistent nudge. Not a voice, not words exactly, but a quiet pressure on her heart, the kind she had learned not to ignore. Over the years, Sarah had come to recognize it as the Holy Spirit's whisper. It had guided her through darker seasons, the night her ex-husband walked out, the day the hospital laid off half the nursing staff and she feared losing her job, the countless evenings she knelt by her boys' beds praying for provision when the pantry echoed empty. This morning, the nudge carried an image: Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, alone in the little blue house next door. Sarah sighed and closed her eyes. "Lord, it's early. I'm tired. Can't this wait until after coffee?" But the image remained, vivid and tender. She saw Mrs. Hayes's frail hands trembling as she tried to open a can of soup. She saw the old woman's fridge with nothing but a jar of pickles, half a stick of butter, and 2 slices of bread gone slightly hard. She saw the unwashed dishes from days ago, the laundry basket overflowing with clothes too heavy for arthritic fingers to carry. Sarah sat up slowly. She knew resistance was pointless. When God pressed like this, peace only returned through obedience. She slipped her feet into worn slippers and padded to the kitchen. The heater had clicked off hours ago to save money. She glanced at the boys' bedroom door. Both Ethan, 8, and Noah, 5, were still asleep, tangled in blankets, faces soft with dreams. Sarah's heart swelled with fierce love. Everything she did for them. And yet, this morning, God was asking her to do something for someone else first.
She opened the refrigerator. The light revealed the stark truth. 4 eggs, less than half a carton of milk, 1 banana turning brown, a nearly empty jar of peanut butter, and bread with only 5 slices left. That was supposed to be breakfast for 3, plus lunches from Monday. Her wallet on the counter held a crumpled $20 bill, her emergency gas money until payday. Sarah stared at the meager contents for a long moment. A battle raged inside her. They're my kids. They come first. But she's my neighbor, and you said to love her as myself. I have so little. Give, and it will be given to you. Tears pricked her eyes. She remembered the story of the widow's mite, how Jesus honored the woman who gave everything, not the rich who gave from their surplus. Sarah whispered, "Okay, Lord, but you're going to have to multiply this." She moved with quiet purpose. She cracked all 4 eggs into a bowl, added a generous splash of milk, and whisked in salt, pepper, and a pinch of dried herbs she'd been saving. The scent of scrambling eggs soon filled the small kitchen. She toasted 4 slices of bread, 2 spread thick with peanut butter for the boys, 2 left plain but buttered lightly for Mrs. Hayes. She wrapped everything carefully in foil to keep it warm, tucked the last banana on top, and added a small yogurt cup she'd forgotten was hiding in the back of the fridge. Before leaving, she wrote a note in her neat nurse's handwriting and left it on the counter. "Good morning, my sweet boys. Mommy is next door helping Mrs. Hayes with breakfast. This cereal and milk for you. Please share nicely. I'll be back soon to make hot chocolate. Be kind to each other. I love you to the moon and back. Mommy." She pulled on her old gray coat, grabbed the warm bundle, and stepped into the freezing dawn. The air bit her cheeks as she crossed the 20 yards of frosted lawn separating the 2 houses. Her breath came in small clouds. She knocked softly on Mrs. Hayes' door. Minutes passed. Sarah knocked again, a little louder. Finally, shuffling footsteps. The door opened a crack, and one watery blue eye peered out. "Sarah? Goodness, child, it's not even 7 o'clock. "I know, Mrs. Hayes," Sarah said gently, smiling, "but I made you breakfast and it's still hot." The door opened wider. Mrs. Eleanor Hayes stood there in a faded floral robe, her white hair in thin curls against her scalp, confusion and gratitude warring on her lined face. I don't understand. How did you know?" "I just knew," Sarah replied simply. She stepped inside. The house smelled of old books, lavender sachets, and faint neglect. Dishes from several days sat in the sink. A single teacup rested on the coffee table beside a stack of unopened mail. The heat was turned low to save money, just like Sarah's. Mrs. Hayes sat slowly at her little kitchen table, hands shaking as she unwrapped the foil. When she saw the golden eggs, the buttered toast, the banana, tears spilled over. "Oh, Sarah, this is too much." "It's exactly enough," Sarah said, kneeling beside her chair. "Eat while it's warm." As Mrs. Hayes took small, careful bites, Sarah quietly began moving around the kitchen. She filled the sink with hot, soapy water and started on the dishes. She wiped counters, took out overflowing trash, gathered scattered newspapers. She found a load of laundry in the hallway and carried it to the ancient washer in the basement, starting a cycle without being asked. Mrs. Hayes watched her, eyes shining. "You're an angel sent straight from heaven." Sarah laughed softly. "No, ma'am, just a tired neighbor who heard God whisper your name this morning." They talked as Sarah worked. Mrs. Hayes spoke of her late husband, George, who used to bring her breakfast in bed every Saturday for 52 years. She spoke of her 2 children, Mark in Seattle, Linda in Florida, who meant well but whose lives had grown so busy they rarely called. She spoke of the fear that crept in at night, the confusion that sometimes stole whole hours from her memory, the shame of not being able to do simple things anymore. Sarah listened without rushing. She made both of them coffee, real coffee, not instant, and sat across from her for a while, holding the old woman's hand. By 9:30, the house looked and felt entirely different. Sunlight now streamed through clean windows. Fresh laundry spun in the dryer. The fridge held the yogurt and banana, plus a few things Sarah had found tucked in the back and reorganized. Bills were sorted on the counter with notes about which ones could wait and which needed attention first. Mrs. Hayes hugged Sarah fiercely at the door. "I'm calling Mark today," she declared, voice stronger than it had been in months. "He needs to know what a treasure lives next door." Sarah smiled, cheeks flushed from work and cold. "You just eat properly and stay warm. I'll check on you tomorrow." She returned home to find her boys at the kitchen table, bowls of cereal mostly eaten, arguing good-naturedly over who got the last of the milk. They ran to her, arms outstretched. "Mommy, we were good," Noah announced proudly. "I see that. And now we're going to make hot chocolate with extra marshmallows to celebrate." The day unfolded in small graces. The boys played outside in the frost, cheeks red, laughter echoing. Sarah folded their own laundry while listening to worship music on her phone. She felt a deep, quiet joy she hadn't known in weeks. At 2:17 p.m., there was a knock at the door. Sarah opened it to find a tall man in his 50s, bundled in a wool coat, eyes red-rimmed. Behind him, Mrs. Hayes stood wrapped in a scarf, smiling wider than Sarah had ever seen. "Sarah Thompson?" the man asked, voice thick. "Yes?" "I'm Mark Hayes. My mother called me this morning. In tears, but happy tears. She told me everything you did." I swallowed hard. I didn't know things had gotten this hard for her. I should have known. He reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope. "This is for groceries, for both of you. And I've already called a cleaning service to come twice a week. And I've moved my next visit up. I'll be here every other weekend from now on." Sarah tried to protest, but he gently pressed the envelope into her hand. Inside were 10 crisp $100 bills, $1,000, more money she'd held at once in years. Tears blurred her vision. "Mark, this is too much." "No," he said firmly. "It's not nearly enough for what you gave my mother today. You gave her dignity. You gave her hope. You gave her love when she felt forgotten." Mrs. Hayes stepped forward and embraced Sarah again. "You listened to God this morning, child, and because you did, He moved mountains." That night, after the boys were asleep, Sarah sat on her couch with a cup of tea, staring at the envelope on the table. She thought of the 4 eggs she had given away, the sleep she had sacrificed, the $20 she had been ready to part with if needed. And she wept, not from exhaustion this time, but from awe. Chosen ones, what you did this Saturday morning proved you are a child of God. It wasn't the $1,000 that proved it. Money comes and goes. It was the quiet yes in the dark, the willingness to be interrupted, the choice to give when your own hands felt empty, the obedience that cost something precious, time, comfort, resources. God never measures by the size of the gift, but by the size of the sacrifice. He sees the heart that says, "I have little, but what I have, I give to you." Sarah was not a preacher. She didn't lead Bible studies or post scriptures online. She was a weary single mom in an old coat carrying foil-wrapped eggs across a frosty lawn at dawn. And in that small, hidden act, the kingdom broke through. Because when one obedient heart moves, heaven mobilizes. Angels take notice. Provision flows. Lonely hearts are knit together. Generations are touched. One son drove 6 hours because his mother's voice sounded alive again. This is how God has always worked, through ordinary people who say yes in ordinary moments, through a young boy's lunch of bread and fish, through a widow's last coins, through a nurse's last eggs on a cold Saturday morning. So listen, chosen one, that nudge you feel, the one asking you to text the friend you've been avoiding, to forgive the one who hurt you deeply, to give when the budget is tight, to pray when you're exhausted. It matters more than you can imagine. Your small obedience today could be the miracle someone else has been praying for tomorrow. Because when you move at His whisper, you prove whose child you are. And the Father, who sees everything done in secret, smiles, draws near, and says, "Well done. That's my girl. That's my boy. Keep going. I'm right here with you." You are chosen. You are seen. You are deeply, eternally loved. And the world is changed one quiet Saturday morning at a time.